You're watching E.T.N. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do a review of The Walking Dead. And I know I did one obviously last week because it was a second half premiere. It was a huge episode, and I thought this was a very, very good follow-up. What we have in this episode was just a number of things going on. We got a new character in the scene, Jesus, which obviously if you read the comics, you're very, very much familiar with this character. And he gave Daryl and Rick some fits. He really, really did. A very, very clever individual, very, very skilled, very, very skilled. And, you know, within all this, we also saw some kind of like, what's what I'm looking for? Like when you want to kind of put some things to an end, and we're talking about obviously Deanna being found by Carl, and obviously being put down to rest by her son and Michonne, and that was a very touching thing because, you know, we kind of forgot about Deanna. At least I did. You know, I'm sure some people did too. With all that was going on in Alexandria at the time, with the people running around, the zombies all over the place. And remember that she went down with a blaze of glory. And I did expect her to be pretty much eaten up. I mean, there was so many zombies coming after her. There's no way she could kill them all. And even though she was infected, she hadn't turned yet. So she still would have been edible for them. And but no, it turned out that she became part of the pack and she made her way outside. And her son was hunting her down to lay her down to rest, and he got to have that moment. And it was very, very, it was touching. It was sad. It was sad. And obviously Michonne running into Carl when she went back to the house and she, you know, confronted him about being out there. You know, they had a very, very nice moment, and a moment that I think really brought Michonne, or at least made her realize just how much she means to Carl. And obviously much more to Rick, which we'll get into that in a moment. Rick and Daryl went on a supply run, and they pretty much hit a home run, finding this truck full of freight. Looked like to be a lot of food and some other things in there. And you know, it's funny, when they were driving back, I said to myself, you know, these guys should just go back, drop this stuff off, get it there as soon as possible, then come back out and finish up what they got to do. And it turns out shortly thereafter, you know, that probably would have been the best move. They ran into Jesus. They had him on lockdown for a minute, and they were going to let him go, or they did let him go more or less. And he played a little prank on them. They set off some fireworks in the back, caught their attention. By the time they got back there, Rick realized that he swiped his keys. When he run back to the front, boom, off he goes with the truck. And the funny thing is, you know, he's probably thinking, all right, you know, I'm in this truck, they're long gone. And, you know, Rick and Daryl being on the road for so long, running as far as they did to catch him is not unbelievable at this point. You know, these guys' stamina is insane. So, you know, they track him down. Thanks to Daryl, they track him down. He's in the middle of changing a tire. They catch him. He still gives them a hard time, pretty much taking them both on. And finally, they're forced to pull their guns out and, you know, be pretty forceful. We see them take the truck back, and they're off on their own until later to find out that Jesus, swiftly enough, he must have done it before they pulled off. Right as they got in the truck, he must have just got the ropes off real quick and hopped on the top of the roof and rode his way there. Or maybe he did the same thing, chasing them down, staying behind the truck directly so they don't see him through the rear view mirror. And perhaps when they slowed down, he decides to get on the roof. Whatever the case may be, he was on that roof. And the sad part about this is that in the end of it all, the truck ends up going into the lake, and all that loot, all that freight is gone. So, you know, this episode, look, it's hard to top what they did last week. It is. That's tough to top. You can't top that. But this episode was a very good follow-up. Because while that one delivered on many different levels, this one hit home more so on a personal level with certain characters. You know, Deanna's son, Michonne and Rick, which was a big moment. And, you know, a lot of people thought they'd been leading up to this moment for a long time. It looks like they have. And Michonne and Rick finally hooked up. They hooked up. It makes perfect sense. They've had a very close relationship for a long time. Michonne has a very good relationship with Carl. She has taken care of Judith before. So there's a sense of trust there. Plus, Michonne is very strong. I think Rick believes that she can take care of herself. He won't have to worry about her as much. So it does make sense. It makes perfect sense that they're hooking up. You know, they've got like a home thing going on. You know, she's been living with them. They haven't been in the same bedroom, but she's been living in that house. You know, you saw her in the earlier part of the show. She was taking a bath or took a shower or whatever. You know, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for both characters, seeing that what they've gone through, where they've come from, and how much they've worked hard together. And Rick was very much alive in this episode, which was nice to see, you know, playing the music. And, you know, he just seemed very chill. It's almost like he got a second life now knowing that Carl's alive. And we see that Carl now has his eyes still healing. Takes place 2 weeks after the incident. So you see them reconstructing the wall. Things just seem to be progressing forward. We didn't get to see too many characters. You know, we got to see Maggie very briefly. You know, obviously we got a good dose of Carl, Michonne, Rick, Daryl, a little bit of Deanna's son. We also got, you know, that's roughly about it, really. And that's really all they needed to do. You know, after last week, this was a really good, somewhat mellow episode. Nothing too crazy going on. We got introduced to a new character, which is very, you know, a very important character. And we get to see that some steps have been taken in a good direction. It was a good episode. It was a very good feeling episode. Rick's alive. He's with Michonne. They're together. It's a nice calm, and it's not going to last long. We know this. These things don't last, but it's nice to have them in between some of these crazy moments on the show that we get to witness like we did last week. Other than that, guys, I thought it was a solid episode. It was a solid follow-up. It's hard to top last week, but I thought they did a good job with this episode. I thought it was a solid follow-up, good character development, good things happening, and it's a calm that was much needed on a show that's pretty much been, you know, hit the ground running since episode 1. And we finally had an episode where it's kind of like, all right, other than the Morgan episode, that was like, almost 2 hours, hour and a half. But this episode is very good. And yeah, the Richomme thing, I think they're calling it now, Richomme, obviously very popular amongst fans. And I think it makes perfect sense from the character standpoint. So what did you guys think of the episode? Do you like the new Michonne-Rick relationship? How do you feel about other events? How do you feel about seeing Jesus? The guy's very skilled. He's very experienced. It doesn't seem very violent. We'll see how that goes next week. And yeah, comment below. Let me know what you thought of the episode and your thoughts going forward. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Join the nation's Facebook page to meet other subscribers or visit E.T.N's Facebook page and Twitter page. Links for all are in the description.